A father who was waiting for his son, who's been aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln to return home after 9 months at sea, has now been arrested by Border Patrol. The Associated Press reports this, quote, Luis Manuel Aviles, 48, was arrested after leaving his house to take his car to the mechanic, according to his wife, Argelia Aviles. She said her husband, a handyman in Key West, Florida, has a permit to work in the United States. Originally from Nicaragua, he has lived in the U.S. for 19 years. The arrest of Aviles comes as the Trump administration rolls back immigration protections for military families in service of its mass deportation agenda. Aviles' son, Joshua, shared the news of his father's arrest in a post on Facebook, writing that he, quote, was still on the USS Lincoln, fighting for a country that has given me everything, and got a call about his father's detention on Saturday morning, adding, quote, this is heartbreaking for me. I don't know how I can mentally continue working 12-plus hour days knowing that my dad is somewhere, possibly treated like a criminal. The Department of Homeland Security said in a statement that Border Patrol agents arrested Luis Aviles on Saturday in Key West and that he will remain in ICE custody while the government seeks to deport him. White House reporter Laura Barron Lopez is with us. Back with us is Eddie at the table. Laura, you and I have talked a lot, and you've done so much reporting on the ways in which the administration's change in policies have actually facilitated things like this happening.
Yes, this isn't the only parent of a service member who has been detained or deported. There have been dozens of parents and spouses of active duty service members who have been detained or deported. And again, as the son highlights, as Joshua says about his father, he's been here for 20 years. He doesn't have a criminal history. That's according to the son and to the daughter. And he was in the process of getting a green card. So even though this is someone who is not the worst of the worst, as the administration says they're going after, they've expanded to reach those deportation numbers. And so many former and current ICE officials I've talked to said that this was always going to happen, that they were always going to go after people who have been here for decades, people who have no criminal history, who have U.S. citizen children, who may have U.S. citizen spouses, because of the fact that you cannot reach those huge numbers north of 1 million that they wanted to reach if you just stuck to people who had a criminal history.
Right. This is about their quotas. It has always been about their quotas. I want to read you just a little bit of what the AP was reporting about Luis Aviles. Quote, the son's lengthy deployment has been challenging for Luis, according to his wife. He told her that he was looking forward to the deployment finally coming to an end. When 6 months passed and his son didn't come back, Aviles was distraught, she said. He was excited, she said. He wanted to hug his son as he hadn't seen him for 9 months. I think about all of the Latino kids who, once this administration was clear about what their deportation plans were, signed up to serve in the U.S. military with the hopes that it would shield their parents from some of the worst elements of deportation. And yet, here we are. A kid he was on a boat for 9 months serving our country, and this is what he returns to.
The expectation is you are to be loyal to the country, but the country has no reason to be loyal to you. And this is just in my own experience, in the tradition out of which I come. Imagine all of those soldiers who fought for American wars and had to come home to segregation. Right? This is not new. It's not new. It's not unusual. But it's also this expectation that you can give us whatever we want, but we do not have to, in so many ways, have your back. And this has been, in so many ways, a feature of Trumpism since he came down the golden escalator.
And if I could just add, it's not normal, right? Traditionally, ICE had discretion. Right. So they had the discretion to decide whether or not they were going to target a parent of an active duty service member. And usually they would prioritize trying to allow that parent or that spouse to stay in the country unless there was some kind of public safety issue. And so we're seeing that, public safety issue aside, there doesn't appear to be that in this case, that they are still targeting active duty service members' relatives.
Here's the thing about the use of discretion, which is part of that was sort of an administration's view of how immigration was supposed to work. Part of it was also just that they understood stories like this were bad PR. Like, they didn't want stories under the Obama administration of folks who were seen as sympathetic characters being caught up in the net of deportation. Part of the difference, the tonal shift here, is that this administration does not care. They see a headline like that, U.S. service member's father detained, and they don't say, get me the person in charge of that detention center and get this guy released as soon as possible so that this headline is over. They say, good, go ahead, send the warning shot.
Because it's not just simply politics driving the policy. This is an existential view. For them, this is great replacement. For them, this is about making America white again. And unless we place this immigration policy within that framework, we're going to constantly ask questions that don't really speak to what they're doing. What's driving the quota? They are going after folks because they have an idea of what this country should look like and who should possess it. And unfortunately.
And the administration has been very clear about this. That's the thing, is that when you ask who's dictating policy here, how are they not bending to what the polls are saying? The fact that the Republicans and the president are underwater on immigration, an issue that they're almost never underwater on, that Democrats consistently poll worse than Republicans on. But they are not doing well on it right now, but they're not responding to the polls. Why? Because this administration, specifically led by Stephen Miller, the architect in the White House, have been pushing and talking about instituting these policies for decades now. They were once fringe. I remember covering Stephen Miller when I covered the Senate, and he was not really paid attention to as a staffer for Jeff Sessions. He is now at the heart of this White House and is driving these policy decisions. And he talks about returning America to the racial quotas that were instituted in the 1920s in terms of who was allowed in. And at that time, it was white immigrants that were primarily given priority over any other immigrants. And that is what he has said over and over again he wants to see the country return to.